One of the most thought-provoking books ever written has to be George Orwell's 1984. This book has been previously banned in the United States and the former USSR. Now, why would a book get banned? What could the author possibly put in less than 400 pages that powerful countries like the USA and communist Russia didn't want you to read? Hi, my name is Gigi from Books Read Smart, and in this video I'm going to talk about the book 1984, what the story is about, and why this book perhaps may be more relevant today than ever before. "1984" is a fictional story, more specifically a dystopian novel. The story takes place in the year 1984. Now, George Orwell wrote this book in 1949, so in that time he was talking about the future. And in the future, the country has become a society that is fully authoritarian. All the power is in the hands of the party, which is basically the government. Every single place is under constant surveillance through cameras and microphones. Every move you make and every word you speak is being monitored and registered. The famous sentence, "Big Brother is watching you," originates from this book. Big Brother is always watching you, so all acts, words, ideas, and even thoughts that goes against the rules and ideology of the party are punished by torture and death. If you don't obey, you're in big trouble. The story follows Winston Smith, the main character of the book. He works as an employee for one of the departments of the party, and his job is to rewrite history whenever it is not in compliance with the party's regime. See, the party doesn't want any records of history to exist that goes against the ideology. No historical records are allowed to contradict whatever the party is saying or doing, because that would mean that the party would lose its trustworthiness and its capability of holding up their ideology. There's a great quote in the book that says, "Every record has been destroyed or falsified, every book rewritten, every picture has been reprinted, every statue and street building has been renamed, every date has been altered, history has stopped." What if history records don't make it? What if we can't learn from history because it is destroyed or falsified by those that don't want you to learn from it? Ironically, like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, this book was banned. A real example of an attempt to destroy a written record that possibly threatened the ideologies of the governments. Winston Smith does not agree with the strict rules. He does not agree with the oppression and control of the party. You are not allowed to think for yourself. You are not allowed to have free thoughts or show any expression of individuality. In 1984, the party is even forcing a new language on their citizens called Newspeak, where most words are destroyed and the remaining words have a very rigid definition. This is the party's way of gaining more control over people's minds by disabling them to put thoughts into words and words into thoughts. To think differently than a party is a crime, known as a thought crime. If you were ever caught disagreeing with the party, you would get arrested by the thought police and you would get tortured and killed. That's why Winston kept all of his rebellious thoughts to himself. He would mask his real thoughts and feelings as much as possible, hoping Big Brother wouldn't notice. 1984 really shows the importance of having your own thoughts and beliefs in the society you live in. You often might not notice how valuable the freedom of thought is until it is taken away from you. But how was it possible in 1984 that the party, which is a minority, to have so much control over the masses? In the book you'll read how they would use mind games and strategies to keep manipulating the public, one of which is patriotism. The party would force the public to follow rules by developing in them a feeling of patriotism, making citizens have a sense of attachment to their country. Because if you are pushed to be attached to your country, you are more likely to be obedient to the country's rules. Another strategy was to spread hate speech about other countries to prevent getting in good contact with them. The party would manipulate the public to hate and fear foreigners to cause division. So they would keep their own citizens in the dark and prevent them from finding out the real truth. But fear was one of the most effective ways to control people. The party would inject fear in people so that they would quickly hand over their independence as a trade-off for protection. If the masses get manipulated into thinking their lives are in danger, they are easier to control and to take advantage of. The quickest way to let people fear their lives is by propaganda, using print, radio, and TV to manipulate the public opinion. George Orwell basically tells us to be aware of the content the media is spreading to the masses, because there always seems to be an agenda. At the end of the day, you'll fall easier victim to what the party is saying when you're not doing your own research to challenge the legitimateness of it. That's why the party wanted to keep the masses in poverty. Keeping people in poverty was also a strategy, because poverty is a sure way to rob people of time to educate themselves. If people have no time to educate themselves because they are too busy working to get food on the table, they remain in the state the party wants them to stay in, which is in ignorance. If leisure and security were enjoyed by all alike, the great mass of human beings who are normally stupefied by poverty would become literate and would learn to think for themselves. And once they have done this, they would sooner or later realize that the privileged minority had no function, and they would sweep it away. In other words, the party wants to keep you busy so you won't get smart enough to go against them and overthrow them. Speaking of overthrowing the party, in the story of 1984, there's a rumor going on that there exists a secret rebellion group known as the Brotherhood that is working on overthrowing the party. Winston desires to be part of this group, but doesn't know if the rumors are true, and if so, how to find out more about the identity of the legendary group. For some reason, Winston suspects that another employee from another department, whose name is O'Brien, is involved in the Brotherhood. But because he's afraid he might also be wrong, which would get him caught, he decides to just watch O'Brien from a distance. Meanwhile, he falls in love with Julia, a free spirit who's also against the party's rules. They keep meeting up secretively because their affair is also forbidden, until the day finally comes that Winston receives a note from O'Brien asking him to meet. Upon their secret meeting, O'Brien confirms that he, like Winston and Julia, hates the party and is indeed part of the Brotherhood. Winston goes home that day excited, thinking he's finally part of the Brotherhood. It can help overpower the party. Not much later, both he and Julia get arrested, concluding that it was all a trap. From this moment on, the torturing begins. Winston gets beaten, humiliated, starved, and brainwashed day in and day out. O'Brien's goal is to get Winston to surrender to the party, but Winston keeps resisting. He refuses to be controlled. Eventually, he is forced in the most inhumane way to confront his worst fears. The suffering has become so bad that he finally surrenders. They finally break his spirit and brainwash him so severely that he not only starts obeying the rules, but gladly becomes a devoted follower of the party. In 1984, George Orwell gives us a powerful warning that it is possible to destroy humanity with tools and strategies that are already available in the present moment. Orwell reminds us how easily totalitarian ideals can take over society and take fierce control. The scary part is that we can be completely unaware of the power that is being held over us, because we have fell victim to the concept of doublethink. Doublethink means the power of holding two contradictory beliefs in one's mind simultaneously and accepting both of them. With doublethink, you are telling lies while at the same time genuinely believing in them. You need to be able to protect your mind and keep questioning everything. Because according to Orwell, it's a nightmare becoming reality if we as a society don't learn to keep thinking for ourselves. 1984 includes a lot of themes such as naturalism, censorship, totalitarianism, propaganda, and manipulation. One or more of these themes have previously struck a nerve in the US and former USSR when the book was translated into Russian. The reason behind the banning have been diverse, but the common reasons in the US was that it was considered anti-government. I've read the book a while ago and it personally opened up my eyes on a lot of aspects, especially considering the circumstances that we are dealing with in the world right now. Without wanting to push my narrative onto you, for this reason, I highly recommend you read the book by yourself to let the content of it sink in and of course form your own thoughts and opinion on it, as you luckily and hopefully are still allowed. If you have already read the book, please comment and share your own thoughts with me because I love to read it. I've also linked the book below in the description with some other interesting links, so make sure you check that out as well. I hope this video was of value to you. Don't forget to like and subscribe and turn the notification bell on to get notified every time there's a new video up. See you next time.